in that swing phase when the force is really low. When the force is higher, the turkey actually has to support its whole body weight. The muscle fiber just barely moves. So you minimize work that way. So you can sort of imagine idealizing this picture of the turkey and how it runs, sort of this picture. So hips here, roughly in the center of mass, sort of follow arcs of circles because we want to keep this distance constant. And that's why it's known as this inverted pendulum model. We've got sort of an upside down pendulum basically between the legs and the center of mass. The force pushing the body up is in this model always perpendicular to the velocity, so we don't have to do any work. Makes sense. We should keep your kinetic energy fairly constant when you're running, right? You might notice that there's a bit of a problem with this picture. There's this sharp point there where we have to bounce back up between the steps. And you can imagine that the point's not going to be totally sharp when a biological organism is doing this. And so to zoom in on this and imagine the forces here, if it's smoothed out a bit, then we actually have to start doing some work. Your forward leg is doing negative work as you absorb your impact, and the backward leg does positive work as you push yourself forward. So, overall the work should be zero, keeping roughly the same speed. The animals are really inefficient, and if the net work is zero, doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy to do. This also doesn't take any work to do, but not very easy. So we can actually look at some equations here. The actual energy cost, represented by E, as a function of the work, represented by W, is the absolute value of the positive and the negative work multiplied by some constants. So if we want to minimize the energy we spend, we want to minimize the work in either direction. So here's a diagram of sort of velocities and forces. V is the velocity when you're coming down in your step, V prime is the velocity when you come back up. Really, you want to keep your horizontal speed the same. You only want to flip the vertical speed. And same with your forces here from the legs. The horizontal components sort of cancel. Your one leg pushes you back, your back leg pushes you forward. They both push you up. So if you wanted to use the least amount of force to do this and move the least amount of distance, you want this angle between the vertical and your leg when you make this step to be as small as possible. So you might be thinking, well, what does that look like? Having an angle of 0? Well, as you get closer, we go from the large steps, the crude drawing here, it's not, the angles are exactly related to the steps like this, but if we have smaller angles, we have to take more steps. Now we get back to the turkey, who had to swing its legs a bunch. If you're swinging your legs a lot to take these steps, you're using more energy. So this isn't really a productive avenue to make your run more efficient. You're going to have some compromise between how much swing you're doing and how small the angles are. So we can look at it from another way. If you were designing maybe a robot or something to run, if you're doing negative work here, maybe you could have some sort of large spring. It would absorb the energy when you land and then push back out when you break off. And we have these biological springs, we call them tendons. So when you land, you stretch these tendons and they can store some energy that you can use to push yourself forward in your next step. So like a spring, if you stretch out your tendons more, you can have more energy in them. Now this is not medical advice. Don't stretch your tendons out and say, oh, this guy at the physics conference told me to do it to run better. No, this is, again, we're just looking at how we might run to get a better understanding of it. So here's a picture of two possible ways we can stretch our tendons out. Number one, we have the muscle here in red, the tendon is this gray thing. These two lines represent the bones where they might be attached. The distance delta L, like I was saying earlier, was basically we can't change that. We're trying to optimize between stride number and the stride angle. So to make this distance, we can stretch out the tendon here and stretch out the muscle a little, get them both to stretch and get this distance. The tendon isn't stretching very much. In the second case, we hold the muscle taut, and the tendon has to do the entire stretch. You can put more energy into it if we're holding it taut. So to run more efficiently, we can hold our muscles really tight. We can have all of our body just held completely stiff and slam it into the ground to store a lot of energy. And now this is where we run into problems. We get this shock wave. Tibia hits, we've got about 8 Gs in the tibia. The shock wave pushes everything up. And yeah, your tendons absorb some of this energy and use it to help you run, but so does everything else in your body, including your joints. Now, animal studies have shown that this shockwave does some damage to the joints. Humans are a lot harder to study because we live a long time. It's hard to tell someone run in this exact way for 50 years, and then we'll measure whether you get arthritis or not. Then you need to do that with a large enough sample size to get a conclusive result, and so there are no conclusive results for this yet. But it's a reasonable assumption to say that we can look at this to imagine how to reduce the injury. So what if we just went back and cushioned the landing with our leg muscles? Sort of seems to be working backwards. We're just talking about how we can be more efficient by keeping them stiff. Remember that the efficiency causing the stiffness isn't really what we want. We're looking at how we might be have been shaped by natural selection. When I go running, I'm not trying to conserve calories. I'm actually deliberately trying to spend them. So if I can run in a way that saves my joints and is less efficient, that's great for me. So this is where we get into a potentially less efficient stride. What if we landed on our toes? So we sort of sink down when we land instead of hitting with our heel, and we'd put a little more strain on our muscles and less on our joints. But if you've ever tried this, it's really hard to keep up. You're running for a long time, you get sort of halfway through, you're like, oh man, I can't keep this up, it's really hard. Only there was some way to force ourselves to run like this. And finally we get to bare feet. You run into your feet, it hurts your heel, you're jamming it into the ground. So the idea is that you'll switch to a stride on your toes that'll cushion your heel more, and this will save your joints. You can imagine this slogan for running in bare feet. Running with bare feet will hurt so much, you'll have to run in a way that'll make you even more tired. You can imagine this wouldn't sell, but hopefully now you can see the logic behind this. This is actually beneficial. So now that we've got all this theory behind us, we know why we need this, why we have this problem, how we can maybe fix it. The question is, does the experimental data back it up? Here's one study I found where it just doesn't. We have force in the vertical axis, the time for a single stride, in the horizontal. The bare feet are this black line, and this gray line is the forces when you're wearing shoes. And yeah, the bare feet hit their max force sooner, but it's about the same level. You're not getting a lot less force when you're not wearing shoes. So this really sort of no, they make no difference. What about this other study? Looks like the same curve, right? But now the shoes, keep in mind the colors just switched between these two graphs. Now the shoes, this peak is a lot higher. So what can we really conclude? And unfortunately for everyone who's wondering how should I run now, I can't really say anything conclusive here. The same sort of problem with studying humans. They're highly variable. It's tough to get a lot of them to do something, to look at long-term effects. And there's other problems too. Some of the things I read said that when you land on your heel, it sort of wobbles more. You have less control, and you're more likely to say roll your ankle and run into these other injuries. And of course, the reason shoes are a problem is because they cushion your feet. It seems like if we want to save damage to your joints, more cushioning is better. So what if you just landed on your toe in your shoe? So that would be my recommendation. But if you're really interested in this, now you know sort of why we're looking at it, and you can keep up with the research if you want and say, okay, here's some more studies on whether bare feet are good, and this is why they might be good. So, thank you. Questions?
Just take the question from the floor.
How do you run?
Me? Basically, I run in these shoes, and if I go uphill, it's on my toes. If I go downhill, it's on